So in our world today, I would say data is everything. Amazon is tracking your data. Each website you go on is probably tracking your cookies. And if we want to propel ourselves into the future, we need more data to teach us about our own lives and activities. And part of that is research in economics. And usually in the economic field, it's hard to track people's data. It's hard to track, what people need, what people buy, what people sell, and what people want. Your credit card company might be able to do this, but that would be unlawful at best, I would say. And this can be done on very small scales, but there's really no way to do this on a large scale, except for, I think, gathering data in MMORPGs. There have been a few papers done talking about the validity of economics in MMOs, but there hasn't been much follow-up on these vast pools of data, and I think they could really be the key to future advancements in economics research. So let's get right into it. If you're unfamiliar with MMOs, think of an open world game that is trying to replicate our own world, but in a fantasy setting. You play as a character, you adventure, quest, and interact with other real players playing from their computers on the same game. Part of these MMOs is the auction house mechanic. And this is what I'm trying to give to you an idea of here. This is an auction house from World of Warcraft. On the left, you can see all the things you can buy, and all of the categories of things you can buy, and on the right are those actual things. And what's interesting about this is each of these items is posted on the auction house by another real player. And you can see on the right, this is how much that player is asking, what the current bid is, and if you want to buy something, you have to find an item where your max bid is the seller's offering price. And so this is really the foundation for an economy in an MMO video game. And to convince you of how real these economies are, there have been papers done, but I'm going to give you a scenario here. So, which starts out with how MMO economies are different from real life economies. So in the real world, money supply is controlled by the government. This is how much money exists in their economy. They can do this by printing money with the mint, or by buying or selling bonds, or by changing interest rates. But in an MMO, each player essentially acts as a mint. When they go out to kill a mob and loot their gold coins, they are introducing money into their world that didn't exist before. And this leads to what it can be hyperinflation if not treated correctly. So this is a graph right here that shows you how interest rates and quantity of money change as money supply changes. So obviously, money supply increases, goes from SM to SM1, moves to the right, quantity of money will increase. And because there's more money in the market, people are going to take out loans for a lower interest rate. And while people won't be taking out loans in MMOs, you can imagine if there's more money in the market, people are going to be willing to pay more for the items they want, which is represented here by AD moving to AD1, which is the aggregate demand of money supply. And this results in price level moving from PLE to PL1 increasing, right? And this is something that is true in our markets, just as it is true in virtual economies. So and another important feature of these virtual economies is their scale. So this is a graph of the subscriber count of World of Warcraft, undoubtedly the most successful MMO RPG to date, peaking at 12 million subscribers in 2010. And while it's dropped off since then, there have been, did not mean to go to that slide. Since it's dropped off since then, there have been, tons of other MMOs introduced. And I guess what I want to touch on with this other slide is, because these economies are so big, they essentially replicate the economy of any nation. You know, there's value in the time that you spend in that game because other people value it. Just as when you make money doing your day job, getting you whatever, $10 an hour, the money that you make has value to other people, and that's why when you go to the gas station, you can buy gas, because that money that you just made has value that is represented by that successful transaction, just as it is in an MMO. And so what this slide here shows is Chinese gold farmers, which was it's not so much a thing now because there are bots that can essentially farm gold for much cheaper than Chinese gold farmers. But before bot vetting technology was good enough to detect and destroy bots in China, gold farming was a huge thing. People would go to work every day, log into this virtual world completely disconnected from the physical one, work and create actual currency, as I was explaining earlier, and sell that currency for real money to other people. And I'm hesitant to even use the word real money, because money is as real as people will give value to it. So to call it real money, I would argue that both of these currencies are real, because it's the people that are in these markets that assign value to that money. And this trend was noticed a long time ago by Edward Casanova in 2001. He wrote this paper released in 2002 about Ultima Online, basically saying like, hey, this market is huge. These people are living in this totally virtual market, and I can calculate the GDP of this virtual world. And then this paper is just telling everyone, hey, listen to me, isn't that insane? And basically they all agreed that it was insane, but unfortunately I feel like there wasn't much follow-up on this paper released in 2002. There is so much potential in these MMOs to give data to economic research firms, and for these research firms to track tons of people and track their interests, wants, needs, the things they're buying and selling, would be a fantasy for those research firms, I think. And although World of Warcraft has been down in population, the market for MMO type games is still there. All of these games I'm showing on the screen now are active and have come out relatively recently and are all fairly populated, save except Terra, which is not doing too well right now. And you'll notice in the bottom right hand corner, EVE Online. If you're familiar with this game, you know that EVE Online has a huge focus on the virtual economy of their game. You could play this game essentially being a spaceship salesman, selling their goods or making profit in the margins with large transactions in space. And I think that's really wonderful. But unfortunately, all of this data is being underutilized. Just imagine if we could track everyone's economic data for just one day in this photo. We would learn so much about economic trends and how they shift. And this slide right here shows, how much life there is in this economy. This is within the span of just 2 hours. There are, transaction fees, brokerage fees, people selling, or this person selling, this person buying. And this is just, one person with a few data points. Imagine if we had a whole year's worth of data from these MMOs. It would be incredible. So I think while there have been some articles released like this one, and it's important to note that the research done on this, which is research on insurance risk given some EVE Online data, the research done from this was beneficial, but not really followed up on. So I'm hopeful that in our future we will see virtual economics being more utilized as a resource of data for economics research. And I hope that this trend gets picked up so that we can create a future with less economic risk and a better understanding of our economic state. So thank you, and I will hope to see you again. Bye-bye.